Good afternoon. I'm Carolyn Boyle from Barrington, Illinois. Thanks for the meeting, and thanks everybody from behind the scenes who put this together. It's quite well orchestrated.
If I may interrupt you for just 1 second, that's very well deserved. And I would like to point out that at Berkshire, everybody in our home office, we have 21 of us, they all participate in working at this meeting. I mean, our CFO works on it. You name anybody in the office because they enjoy it. We don't think we should have a department, for this or that or the other thing. And I think that's probably fairly unusual with companies with market caps of close to 200 billion. But you've seen Mark Hamburg walking around here and doing things. It's a group effort, and they have. I hope they have fun doing it because they sure don't get a bonus for. But I think it exemplifies the organization. Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Let me share a bit. I had some trouble getting the annual statement information, so I finally got on the internet, sent in the postcard request a week ago, yesterday, and I got my tickets before the meeting. So it was very well orchestrated.
Thank you.
Now that you own some of real business, I'd like to have your perspective on whether our country needs a high-speed passenger rail service, and if you think it does, should that be a private or a public endeavor?
Yeah, I think by its nature, it would be non-economic when it competes with auto and competes with air. We don't have the point-to-point density and demand that would produce a return on capital. That is my guess. I made no big study of it, but all of the times I've seen projections in of the economics of it, it just doesn't work that well. So it will be, if it gets done, unless it's heavily subsidized in some way, which means it's public anyway. I don't think it'll happen under private. It won't meet the test of private economics. Charlie, they've got a big proposal in California on this. What do you know about the economics of that?
Well, I know very little, but I'm at least as dubious as you are. The cost of putting in a high-speed rail system in a place that's already densely populated is awesomely large, and of course you're competing with a system that people prefer.
They're talking about in Omaha.
I'm very skeptical about sticking high-speed rails. I think it's great in Japan and China. They have a different calculus.
Yeah, Japan.
But the idea of putting high-speed rail into Los Angeles just looks to me like a bottomless pit of cost and trouble and just think of how difficult that would be.
If it's going to be high speed, it can't stop very often, by definition. And it can't go off into spurs and all of these kind of things. So it really gets to point operation, and the cost gets staggering. There's a talk in Omaha about a trolley system, and they're talking about, a couple $100 million or something like that from the federal government. And the projections of actual revenue are, as I remember, are something like $400,000, and that's before operating costs. I mean, so the math, you put $200 million into something to move people a few miles in Omaha, and most of the people are going to want to ride their cars, and to have it be efficient, it has to be point to point pretty much for them. I mean, if you start living 6 blocks one way or 8 blocks another way, you say, nuts, I'll take the car. The math really gets to be staggering on these things. And now, everybody figures if you can get the money from the federal government, it doesn't cost anybody anything, but it'd be a lot of money. And it's been done in Buffalo, and people like it. But I've requested the figures on it today, and it blows your mind in terms. I mean, you could give everybody a cab ride or something, and it'd be cheaper for society as a whole. So I have a feeling that it works marvelously, maybe between Tokyo and Yokohama or something, and it really does. And it even works well enough so I think it justifies private investment. But it's tough in a country of 3 million plus square miles and within the continental lower 48. And it's very tough to make the math work. Now, if it becomes a huge project or something of the government, so it isn't anybody's math, maybe it'll happen. I don't think it'll ever happen with money that wants a return.